Yeah, we back with another interesting video. Now today, man, we're gonna be breaking down a debate that I seen happening on social media yesterday, right? And I've done videos on this topic before, but apparently a lot of people, it's a shame, man. It's a shame when our schools and our curriculum don't really give us the true account of history, man, the true nuance behind history. We allow these certain narratives to spread. So this brother hopped on social media yesterday and he asked this question. Take a look up on the screen. I have a question. Where did this myth that mixed children with black mothers are more in tune with their blackness compared to white mothers? Now, I've done videos on this topic, but basically what the brother is asking is, there's this running narrative that the mixed children, the biracial children with the black mothers and the white fathers are more in tune with their blackness. Somebody with a white daddy in the goddamn house, he gonna be more in tune with his blackness. But anyways, man, let's take a look at the conversation, man, and I'm gonna provide some of my commentary. Let's get into it. This person said, it is not a myth. It's a sociological fact that culture is traditionally and typically taught and passed on by the mothers. And the person on the bottom said, I came to say this. A lot of what we know and understand as cultural and tradition is taught by the women. It goes hand in hand with gender roles and women being the nurturers. Now, on my channel, I've said this before. I said, yes, the woman is going to pass down the culture and traditions, but I've always gave the other side and said, usually she's passing down the culture and traditions that has been approved and endorsed by the man that she has decided to spend her life with. That's the other side of the conversation that they don't really want to talk about, right? Listen, yes, in my household, in my experience, I even said this before. My mother, gave me a lot of information and knowledge about my culture and history. But that's due to the fact that she's married to a highly intelligent black man who decided that in his household, that's going to be a requirement and mandatory for his children to understand that, right? So I can only imagine if my mama was getting smashed by a white man, I probably wouldn't be who I am today. I probably wouldn't be who I am today because a lot of who I am today is due to the fact that the man that I was given as an example, I follow in his footsteps. If I was given a white man to follow, I'd probably be a corny ass dude. You know what I'm saying? I'd probably be a buster, to be honest with you. I'd probably be corny as hell. Now let's continue. This person said, we typically learn our culture from our mothers, so it makes sense that they're in tune with it. This person said, mama's baby, daddy's maybe. It's a fact that cultural practices are passed down through the mothers. This person said, I don't know anybody who doesn't know that children of white mothers are raised differently than if they had black mothers. Mothers set the culture in the home and the family. It has nothing to do with the dating out part. That's how we know y'all don't pay attention. Now, listen to me, man. Listen. When you examine cultures around the world, the women follow the men, okay? The women follow the men. When you talk about culture, who created the culture? Who set the parameters for the culture? The culture came from the men. Everything you're passing down, it was created by the men, first of all, right? So when you talk about you passing down the black culture is the creation of black men, African culture, black culture, whatever you want to call it. It was created by black men. First of all, what is culture? Culture is the beliefs, the values, the customs, behaviors, and the artifacts of a society. The music they listen to, the food they eat, the spiritual practices they enforce. And who created all of these social constructs? Who enforces these social constructs? It's the men. It's the black men. And when you go to Arab culture, who enforces that culture? It's the Arab man. When you go to European culture, who enforces that culture historically? It's the European man. So what the fuck is you talking about, man? Let's continue. This person said, there are way too many black people with two black parents who aren't even comfortable in their own blackness, but you think you can convince me that kids with a white father are the most woke group of people you'll ever meet. Oh my God, yo, and that's another side of the conversation, right? If we talk about the mothers passing down the culture, the mothers this and that, well, then we have to examine all the self-hating tap dancers and the self-hating sellouts who have two black parents who are not mixed race. How come they were not given the traditional customs and beliefs by their black mother? But you expect me to believe that the black man with the white father is gonna have all the traditional customs and belief systems and the white man smashing his mama in the goddamn house. Please spare me. Please spare me. Please stop. Please stop, man. Please stop. Let's continue. This person said, how can a white woman impart something that doesn't even exist in themselves? Now, I said the same thing earlier. If I was raised by a white man, I mean, God forbid, thank God my mother chose, a high level black man to create life with. But if God forbid, my mother chose a white man, what the hell is that white man gonna teach me? A lot of what I'm taught, a lot of my personality, it comes from my father. A lot of the way I see the world, it comes from my father, right? And the reason why my mother chose my father is because he had those qualities. And the reason why my father chose my mother is because she had certain qualities, right? So a woman that can pass down the traditional customs and beliefs and all this high level shit in the culture is usually going to be with a black man, a high level black man, right? A woman who has all those qualities and has all that knowledge, she wouldn't even be caught dead in the bed with a white man. So let's continue. This person said, who is almost always the primary caregiver regardless of race? Now, I see this lady has a Haitian flag in her profile picture or whatever. And it's so sad because I can already tell she doesn't know anything about her history. She doesn't know anything about her history. In fact, last week I dropped a video entitled, take a look up on the screen, The Anti-Divestor Laws of Revolutionary Haiti. And in that video, I spoke about how during the Haitian Revolution and also the years after the Haitian Revolution, it was marked by a series of bloody conflicts between black men who had black mothers and black fathers and mixed race men who had black mothers and white fathers. That video is probably one of the greatest videos I've ever dropped and probably will ever drop. And in that video, I spoke about how in the first 100 or so years of Haiti's existence, there were laws on the books that if a black woman decided to marry a foreigner, and a foreigner just means a white man, she would be denationalized, she would be dispossessed of her property, and sometimes she would be deported. And the reason those laws were placed on the books was because during the revolution and after the revolution, the mixed race sons with the black mothers and the white fathers, they were constantly trying to sabotage the progress of the state. They were constantly waging war against the black men. The mixed race men with the black mothers and the white fathers, they waged war against Toussaint Louverture. They assassinated Dessalines. They waged war against Christophe. And in 1825, when the mixed race men with the black mothers and the white fathers finally got into power, they were the ones that decided to pay reparations to the French slaveholders. And the French slaveholders were just their uncles, their fathers, their grandfathers, their cousins. So it was a family affair. So as someone with the Haitian flag in her bio, she should understand her history. The mixed race man with the black mother and the white father destroyed our country. Before we could even get it off the ground, they destroyed our country. So for her to sit up here and say, oh, the mixed race man with the black mother and the white father, he gonna have all the culture. He don't know shit about the culture. When we examine history, the mixed race man with the white father, even the Arab father, he has always attached himself to the culture of his father, to the race of his father. He has always followed in the footsteps of his father because that is what boys do. They follow their fathers. It happened in Africa. It happened in the Western Hemisphere. And I even go in deeper on the topic on another video entitled, take a look up on the screen, The Political Impact of Divestors. And I'm not going to run down the history on this video right now because I've done it so many times, but black men should really be offended when you hear this narrative because our history as black men, we have a bloody history when it comes to the mixed race men with the black mothers. Going back to the Arab invasions of Africa, who do you think was leading many of those armies that waged war against our ancient kingdoms? Who do you think invaded? Who do you think invaded our legendary kingdoms back in those days? A lot of those times, it was the mixed race Arab with the black mother and the Arab father. Whenever you hear this certain narrative by white conservatives and the right-wing Republicans, whenever they say, oh, black people own slaves, blacks own slaves too, do you know that those free people of color that own slaves were the mixed race offspring of black women and white men? In fact, going back to the lady on the screen who's Haitian, she should know that about 25% of all plantation owners and slave owners in pre-colonial Haiti, they were mixed race men with black mothers. So if the women passed down their culture, how come they raised slave owners? How come they raised slave traders? How come they raised militant terrorists who waged war against black men for centuries? Listen, don't talk to me about culture. Culture is enforced by the men. And whenever a black woman gets with a white man, that mixed race offspring, that boy is going to follow his white father, his Arab father, his Chinese father, whatever you want to call it. They're not going to cling to the race of their mother. Historically, that's the evidence we have. Historically. And as a Haitian woman, she should be ashamed of trying to promote this narrative when her country was destroyed by mixed race men with white fathers. Now let's continue. This person said, it's not entirely a myth. Mothers tend to pass on the culture to their children because they're tasked with child rearing. Mothers tend to set the tone of who their children identify as. That's anthropology and studies on child rearing. This person responded and he said this, there are no books or scholarship claiming such garbage. Just say you are horny for white men and go. This is embarrassing. Yo, that's all it is, man. That's all it is. These women are just horny for whites. Now let's continue. This person said, you mostly hear this narrative come from black women, and if we narrow it down to one reason, it's mostly to justify black women dating and reproducing interracially while simultaneously mate guarding black men. Bingo. Let's continue. This person said, culture is ideology, and that comes from the men. Women are not historians, rule makers, natural leaders, and enforcers of code, which are the foundations of culture. Actually, women follow what the men do, hence why Hispanic, Luso-Africans, and Creoles operation of European racism. Now, the Luso-Africans. Did you know that, when they talk about, the Africans sold their own people into slavery, do you know a good amount of those slave traders were mixed race men with white fathers who were simply following in the family business? Man, listen, that's why we got to study history, man. That's why, man, it's really important to really understand your history as a race of people. Because when you don't understand your history, you start promoting all these inaccurate narratives that have no basis in reality. Now, let's continue. This person said, centuries worth of anecdotal data. There are studies done which show black mother biracials have historically had an affinity for the European side. And Haitian mulattoes would have been a quick way to debunk this. Man, telling you, bro, telling you. You could just look at the history of the Senores on the West African coast, the black women on the West African coast that made it with the European slave traders, created a bunch of mixed breeds, and those mixed breeds started getting into the slave trading business. You could look at the mulattoes in Haiti, like I said, that waged war for over 20 years and sold the country away to the French. You could just look at the Arab invaders that came through and crushed our kingdoms and crushed our territories, that invaded our territories on behalf of their Arab fathers in the Middle East. I mean, listen, the list goes on and on and on and on. The list goes on and on and on and on. Let's continue. This person said, I never understood people who would say the women pass down the culture, but don't acknowledge that men set the culture. The most prominent aspects of black culture comes from black men. Exactly. And I'm one of the people that say that. I always say that on my channel. I say, listen, brothers, you have to vet the woman that you choose to be the mother of your children, the wife, the matriarch of your family. You have to make sure that she has those qualities that if you die, she can pass down the culture and the values and the belief systems down to your children, right? But like I said, that culture and belief system is set and created by the men. And a woman who has deep knowledge of her history and culture, she wouldn't even be laying up with a white man in the first place. So, that contradicts itself by itself. You know what I mean? They're talking about we're going to pass down to the traditions and the history and the culture, but you laying up with the white man, you laying up with the Arab man. Please stop it. Please stop the comedy routine. Let's continue. This person said, I want them to concretely identify cultural aspects. I guarantee if they interrogate whether it's music, language, slang, food, or style, most of the shit they're thinking of is going to be the direct creation of black men. Amen, brother. Amen. And like I said, it's the same thing for the Arab culture. Everything you identify with Arab culture is the creation. It's the brainchild of Arab men. European culture, it's the creation. It's the brainchild of European men. Chinese culture, it's the brainchild. It's the creation of Chinese men. So these women are trying to tell us, they're trying to convince us they're going to pass down the creation of black men and their white man is going to be cool with it. Let's continue. This person said, what culture is coming from a woman that procreated with a whole white man? You can keep pretending like these people have Malcolm X posters on their walls, but we all know that ain't true. It's a made up narrative. Sorry you guys can't cope with that. Exactly, man. These women are trying to tell us why they bending over for the white man. They're going to pass down the history of Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey and Dessalines down to their mixed race sons. Please stop it, man. Your mixed race son going to be a tap dancer. Let's continue. This person said, not to mention that these conversations are always with the idea of a biracial daughter being involved. They don't even think biracial sons exist and that the white father could negatively influence the son. Now, like I said, just watch them videos I mentioned earlier in the video and you can examine what happens when, the biracial son attaches himself to the culture of his father. A lot of warfare happens, a lot of sabotage happens, whole civilizations get destroyed. A whole lot of blood starts being spilled on behalf of European interests, as well as Arab interests. And now that we got some Chinese in Africa making babies with the black women, in the future, it's probably going to be on behalf of Chinese interests. Now let's continue. This lady said at the top, it is historically evidenced across ethnicities, nationalities, and continents that culture is passed on through the mother. Men generally do not participate enough domestically to pass on culture, traditions, and behaviors. And the brother on the bottom replied and he said this. Meanwhile, there were mixed race slave owners during the transatlantic slave trade. Want to guess the race of their mother and fathers? She responded and she said this. In that same vein, families were often ripped apart during slavery, and black mothers more often than not did not get to raise their own children at all. The race relations and norms during slavery are a complete separate topic in this convo. And he responded, he said this, and yet today, we still live in a country ran by and controlled by whites. So you somehow think a black mother's influence can supersede the influence along with the influence of having a literal white father inside the home. Now listen, I can only imagine, because I can only imagine the respect and admiration I have for my father, who's a black man. But I can only imagine if my father was a white man and that was the example I was given and the footsteps I had to follow, I would not be who I am today. I would not have the mentality I have today, right? I'd be on YouTube talking about race is not real, brothers. Race is a social construct. It's not about black versus white. It's about good versus evil. That's what I'd be sounding like if I had a white father, I guarantee it. And she's a liar. She said, oh, black women couldn't raise their children during slavery. Listen, white men during slavery, during the slave trade, even in Africa when they were making babies with the black women, they were deadbeats. They were deadbeats. So you mean to tell me the white man was raising them biracial babies? No. Those slave owners, those biracial slave owners with the black mothers, they were raised by their black mothers, okay? They were raised by their black mothers. The fact of the matter is this: women will always follow in the direction of the men. Women will always, listen, you talk about women pass down the culture, but women only pass down the culture that is authorized and endorsed by the men that she is with. If the man decides that we are not teaching our children this shit, you're not teaching your children this shit. Period, point blank. Period, point blank. I've seen it in my own house. There are certain things my father would not allow to be passed down to his children. And if my mother tried to overstep her boundaries and tried to supersede my father and override my father, it was going to be a problem. Now let's continue. This brother said, the mixed people in other parts of the world were ops to the native black population. Only in America were they not a completely legally separated buffer class used to oppress blacks. Exactly, man. All over the world. Africa, the Caribbean, South America, Central America, all over the world. Except, North America was slightly different because the white man didn't want to, he created the one drop rule because he wanted to have the luxury of being able to smash our women without actually having any obligation to our women by saying, listen, he got one drop of black blood. Listen, he not a white man. He gets no inheritance. I don't claim him. That ain't my child. He's black. So due to the fact that the North American white man was a degenerate deadbeat, he didn't want to claim those mixed race children. So he created the one drop rule in order to secure and protect his resources to make sure the black woman and her mixed race child had no access to said resources. But in other parts of the world, it was a bit different, right? The mixed race child was more embraced. And when the mixed race child is embraced by his father's side, he goes hard for his father's side, as history has shown. Now let's continue. This person said, the mulatto buffer classes throughout history have black mothers who indoctrinated them with race hatred and superiority complexes, made them the perfect minions of white supremacy. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And go check out those videos I mentioned earlier, man. I go in great detail about that subject. This person said, the fact that y'all somehow think you can create these militant black children while also sleeping with a man who ain't even black is absolutely hilarious. Oh my goodness. This person said, they barely create militant fully black children. Yo, that's what I'm saying. How the hell is the mixed race man with the white father gonna be militant? He gonna have all this cultural knowledge, but meanwhile, the children who's fully black, who not even mixed, they don't even got these cultural values and customs. For example, just take a look at the women that make these arguments. A lot of these women that make these arguments, they're not mixed, right? But they believe that they can sleep with the white man and they're gonna create all these militant children. First of all, the fact that you're even making an argument for sleeping with a white man just shows that you don't even possess the cultural knowledge, values, and customs that you claim you're gonna pass down, because you wouldn't even be looking at a white man in the first place. Now let's continue. This person said, mothers are more likely to assimilate into the culture and race of the other parent. They take on his name, they convert to his religion, and they follow his leadership. The problem is y'all think that blackness starts and ends with y'all. Exactly, man. It's a fact. It's a fact, man. Like I told you, yes, I believe that. The woman is going to pass down the culture. But the woman is going to be with the man of the culture who's going to set the parameters of the culture, because the culture is created and set by the men in the first place. So you're not going to get with another man and then pass down the culture of another man. This person said, it's a smart tactic white men drummed up to get white men of the future all the women of color they can lay up with. This person said, the woman follows the man. If she were a cracker, do the math. Only a fool would think this. Exactly, man. Exactly. Yes, women pass down the culture, but the woman follows the men, and the men set the parameters of the culture. Period, point blank, end of discussion. Only time it doesn't happen is in a single mother household. This person said, it all boils down to black women want to be able to smash white men, but can't stand black men choosing white women over them, so they convince themselves of this stupid myth. I agree. This person said, it comes from slavery, the belief that the white man's sperm purifies the black womb and the black man's sperm stains the white womb. This person said, it's because the mother. So how come most anti-black mixed people throughout history always had a black mother? I don't really like to say they always had a black mother. I always say they always had a foreign father. They always had a white father. They always had an Arab father. They always had a father of a different race. And that father of a different race used that mixed race offspring to do his bidding on his behalf. But anyways, man, we're going to wrap it up, man. We're going to wrap it up. Like I said, go check out those videos that I mentioned earlier in this presentation, right? Start off with the political impact of divestors. I put out that video a couple months ago, right? And then a couple weeks ago, I dropped the anti-divestor laws of revolutionary Haiti, right? So if you want to understand how Haiti was destroyed, how Haiti became the dumpster fire that it is today, how the Haitian economy was crippled before it could even get, off the ground, due to the machinations and the sabotage of mixed race men and their white fathers all the way in France. Go check that video out, man. Go check that video out. Go check out the real reason why the Haitians ended up paying reparations to their former colonial enemies, right? We really have to understand the nuance of history, man. We have to understand the nuance of history, man. And like I said, black men should be offended whenever you hear this narrative being spread throughout the atmosphere, when they talk about how, you know, the mixed race man with the foreign father, he's going to be the one that's in tune with the culture, when historically he's been the one that has destroyed and waged war against our cultures. Now, anyways, man, it's your boy Nevercard. That's Celine back in the building. Yes, indeed. Cash App up on the screen, and I'm gone. Peace.
Reincarnated, I'm back in original fashion. I left on a horse and came back in that ass, and I left with abundance and came back to famine. We used to be pyramids, now we be rapping. Look how the mighty have fallen. Used to be running, now we be walking. When you be cooning, that's when they applauded. Selling your soul, your sons and your daughter. Gotta come up in this shit, they stuck in the mix. Really, my heart it be breaking. That's why I'm stacking that paper and handle my business. Pass it down in generation. Talking about money and power and building a nation. That's a deadly combination. Never be watching the TV, they pushing agendas, falsifying information. Know they got malice intentions. Step in the room and I'm feeling the tension. Enemy watching me blocking my vision. Pay for the check cause I need my redemption. Building my kingdom, I need it protected. Ready for war like a young money Congo. Never decided the team is the motto. Up in the crib and I'm whipping up waffles. Up in the crib and I'm smoking gelato. I'm chilling, I'm taking my pain and make it ambition. I'm blessed by the gods, but I ain't religious. I came for the power, they came for the bitch. They making no hourly wage, I got business. This shit is an art and they could never be taught. Selling my soul, I can never be bought. Play with my money, I see you ain't caught. Run to the check and I do it for sport. Babylon falling, I go to the source. Packing my luggage and go overseas. Shorty be with me and she so at least. Shorty be chocolate, I'm calling her Hershey. Secret intelligence probably gon' murk me. Don't fuck with brands, cause nigga I'm Haitian. Say the wrong shit and get smacked in their faces.